The show for you.
And listen to your music literally get fucked by legendary musicians. The Colonel and his special guest as they violently rip apart your music from the tasteless covers to broken tributes.
Fridays at 7 Pacific.
Only on Excite Radio.
Come and get your weekly dose of shitty music.
Imagine a circle. Imagine 12 points on that circle. You unlock this circle with the keys of your imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound, of emotion, of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of feelings and ideas. You've just waded into the Sonic Deep. We hope you enjoy your stay. Here's your host, Mr. and Lou.
Hello again, and thank you for joining us. As you can see, our good friend, Mr. Alex Fioris, is not with us here in the studio. However, I do have him on the line, in the background, on Skype. So, broadcasting live from the Den of Ecometry. How are you tonight, Alex?
Very, very well, Jason. Very well.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So we had, due to traffic and that kind of thing, and last-minute changeabouts, and work commitments and whatnot, we unfortunately had to reschedule our thing to here. But it's okay. I brought out the Ecometric Circle for us all to look at because we love our Ecometric Circle. And I think that we can have plenty of fun talking about what Alex wants to talk about. I'll help out with some of the visual examples. And we're going to dive into this as we always do. We are talking about ecometry, for those of you that this is their first time of joining us. And ecometry is the measure of sound. And the way that it, as Alex puts it, the way that it affects the brain. And what we're talking about, of course, is music, and essentially a better version of music theory. That's what I think of it as, music theory on steroids or on crack rock or something. Does that sound accurate?
Pretty much.
So
I got a couple things I could read for you since we cannot see our friends. So we'll try to give them a little bit of wisdom with some little notes that I have in front of me.
Please do.
So, having operated a music store for almost 25 years now, and having come in contact with thousands of musicians, I couldn't but notice that the vast majority of them did not know the exact number of musical notes. They did not know their names, and most of them were very uncomfortable to talk about their musical knowledge. I think that this sounds like most of the people that might be listening to us today. Most of us musicians, when anybody dares to tell us, what do you know? We would rather shut up instead of describe what it is that we know.
Right.
What do you think about this, Jason?
No, I think that's a great point. Because I think that there are some certain elements that I mean, like, I'm a musician who's written over 300 songs, and been in multiple bands, been in cover bands, been in, original bands, played solo, played live, wrote in my studio. I did all these things, and never, ever felt I really understood music, and was always kind of fumbling in the dark, looking to other people. Okay, this guy wrote the song this way, so those are some chords I can use. And literally within a couple of weeks of studying ecometry, I started putting everything together and going, oh, wow, it's a lot simpler than music theory makes it all seem. So for me, that's my personal experience, is that, I totally agree. We walk around kind of making music and then being ashamed of how little we know about it. And so kind of, I don't know, I think you kind of put up this facade of, well, it's, you have to be simplistic if you really want to be a really good musician. You have to be very simplistic. And really that's just kind of an excuse to say, I don't know what I'm doing, so I just do a couple things.
I will give you a couple of more details that happened to me. And remember, that is because I operate a music store for almost 25 years. Can you imagine? I'm actually short about 3 months from 25 years in the store. Can you imagine how many people I had the chance to talk to?
An insane number. I mean, I was in there for a couple of weeks, couple of days a week, and met a ton of people. It's amazing.
Yes, but all of them were very uncomfortable talking about music. You see, if I asked them to drop their pants, they would probably do that faster. I asked them to, to tell me what they know about music. But listen to this. This is going to be the funny part. They knew, all of them, everything about their Fender guitar.
Right.
They knew the original screws. Now listen to this. They were so eager to learn things about music because music was not there. And there was no credible description of anything musical they knew. It was just an experience they had on their strings by themselves. So they would rather learn about this, the strings of they knew all about the strings, the keys. They knew the original screws of 67 Strat. You cannot sell a Stratocaster that has one screw missing. Right. But listen, you ask them what is a pentatonic scale, and they're stuck. They freak out. You ask them, what is it you do when you hold that guitar? And they are stuck. Yeah. And you know what? It reminded me, I'd like to tell you that it's like, remember when we were young and we were in school and we had a final exam coming and we'd go inside that classroom but had no idea what the teacher was going to ask, right? So we were in panic. So when that paper came and the questions were on it, we would absolutely freeze. That's the same feeling that people get today when you ask them about their musical knowledge. Yeah. And I find that to be, mildly put, ridiculous, because music is a very simple form of logic.
Exactly. But music theory isn't a logical layout of what music is, and that's the problem with music theory, and that's where econometry. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. In reality, I shouldn't damn all of music theory because the rhythmic theory in music theory is there. That's
it is there, but the melodic and harmonic,
exactly, the melodic and the whole, it's like it's a mystery on top of a very solid rhythmic foundation.
Now, since you said something about the rhythm, I'd like to tell you, because parents bring their kids to my store all the time, and they try to ask me if I could have an opinion for them. What should they choose? The kids themselves, 9 out of 10, would rather play drums.
Yeah.
That's how complicated the rest of the info is. So they would rather go for the things they understand. So rhythm is actually almost understandable. We would rather talk about melody and harmony in the ecometrical system.
Now that you said that, I have to interject because the very first instrument I ever played was the trumpet. Okay, and it was in, I think, the 3rd or 4th grade. They kind of took you in a room. They showed you all these instruments, and you just got to decide which one you wanted to play, and then you asked your parents, and then, they could rent you one, and then you could play, blah, 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 whatever. But our musical system is so convoluted that I picked the trumpet because, to me, that seemed the easiest to play because it only had 3 valves. Little did I know that 3 valves dividing 12 notes was going to be, among 7 octaves, was going to be much harder than anything else that I could have picked. And I think that really discouraged me in the beginning. And there was no one there in the beginning, especially, to tell me the basic fundamentals of the way music works on this level that I really think, like, kids that, if I was that age, I would have understood this.
Yeah, of course. Well, I do believe, and you know how much I believe in econometry. And of course, you remember it took me 40 years. So anybody who thinks that this information came easy to me, I want you to know it took me 40 years of intensive, almost daily engagement with my thoughts to try to find out what the sound does to us. And I'm going to start from the beginning. Econometry is the study of the interaction between the human intellect, our brain, and the 12 consecutive notes found on any instrument that are extremely visible on the piano. Look at the piano, you see there is 7 white keys, 5 black keys, and then they keep repeating themselves till you run out of keys. So mainly, all it is 12 disguised all over the piano. Start on any key. When you go back to itself, you're going to find out there were 12 notes you run over. 7 plus 5. Now remember, 12 notes. Divide them by 6. 2, 4, 3, 1. And you're going to get dissonance. Therefore, the only 2 systems that excite our brain are the non-dividing numbers within 12, which is 5 and 7.
And that in and of itself is...
No, I know that is
you can't. Nobody in music theory talks about that.
No, but there is nobody, and I challenge everyone who is listening to bring me anyone around the world who has ever stated boldly, like we do today, that music is nothing but the mind's curiosity to understand the relationships between the 5 and the 7 within 12. That's why, guys, when you play pentatonic, you're stuck with 5, pende. And when you're playing diatonic, you're stuck with 7. Remember, there is no octave. Ask your teacher, why did they lie to you? Where's the 8th note? If you find me the 8th note, ecometry comes for free, and the ecometrist will work for you for free for the rest of his life. Yep.
That's true.
So now I'm going to give you a little story, which I'm going to read you the introduction to my book, that says the purpose of this book is to present the musical reality to the seasoned or to the novice who wishes to enjoy a casual musical experience. So basically, ecometry is for everybody. It's not just for the people who are addicted like myself, but it's for everybody. Now, I would like to remind you that anyone who tried to play a melody or on any instrument or tried to learn how to play music through books or private instruction will agree that the first impression was that music is a hard subject to understand. Many people gave up their efforts after a few lessons, a few persisted a little more and then gave up, and finally the small percentage stayed the course, although never really understood the reality behind playing music. So the purpose of my effort is to present the whole world how simple the musical complication is.
Yeah. And you know, that's in my study, I found that a lot of the times my music theory has gotten in the way of me really sorting out how simplistic this system really is and logical. And it's not until I really started just sitting down and playing the circles and playing with them the way that they're meant to be played with that I found how simplistic and logical it all is laid out.
I'm going to give you an example. You open any chord book for any kind of instrument, and they tell you the chord is A minor. Here it is. Now you take whatever you heard, you move it up one little note. Here you go. You move it up again. You move it up again. And they give you endless different names for them. Why? It's like if somebody gives you a glass of water, and every time they move it, they give it a different name, and then it's not water anymore.
Right.
Now, I don't know if I make sense.
No,
but
you know what? I want to kind of explain that. I want to explain that out a little bit further, because what you're saying is that in reality, the way we've named notes. By saying A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and the sharps and flats of those are in between on some of them, a couple of them they're not. By naming them that way, we're like setting them in stone, when in reality, music is not set in stone like that. It depends on where you start. So the shape is always the same. When we talk about music, the ear really, unless you train it to, can't tell the difference between an A and a B. Only the trained musician who's learned that exact frequency sounds that exact way. But the average person, everybody can hear a major chord, a minor chord.
Okay. So you have to know that every time we talk about those things, it sounds rather complicating. It complicates things when you talk about music, about sharps, flats, and the notes. I will tell you fast and sweet that you cannot take the human language of 26 characters, eliminate 19, offer the brain only 7, and try to create a musical system that is comprised of 12 consecutive, if you like to call them, notes.
Right.
There is 12 sounds. Every time you want to understand them, the mind calculates all 12. When you play 7 like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Back to 1. The mind knows you left 5 out. Those 5 are here. 7, 5 missing. You see, of course, now that I make it obvious, you find out that they sound so different. How does the mind know? Yes, it does. The mind knows always whether you're using 5 or 7. You see, that's the mind game. That's what the mind likes to do. To try to understand 5 or 7. Does it succeed? No. But what it does, after you hear the major scale a few thousand times, then you recognize it, that it is weird, but it sounds familiar. So when you hear songs like this, you know it's a major scale. Listen what would happen, how tremendously ridiculous it would be if I played you this scale. You see, that sounded ridiculous. It's not a public figure in the music. I played you a Greek scale from a weird key. And when you hear it, you say, that's not music. Of course it is. But you recognize the major scale because of its mathematics within its structure. Here it goes. Different. 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 And it goes forever. Or these are about 6 or 7 different major scales, but only one of them is understood by the Western mind because we're limited to what we hear every day. Did you notice that music is monotonously the same?
Yeah.
Did you notice that all the songs are made out of the same phrases?
Exactly.
That all the artists who try to bring a new album, all they're doing is printing a new story. They just try desperately to change the material of their message, but not the musical message.
Right.
To make a long story short, I would like to tell you that music is 12. The mind loves to hear 3 things. We call them chords. When those 3 things expand to 4, we call those dominant 7th, major 7th, minor 7th, flat 5, minor 7. All of those are 4. When you play pentatonics and music sounds like this, and I'm trying to be as simple as possible, that's when your mind is thinking 5. The 6 is a very hard number, and we don't usually use it. I'll give you an example. The 7 is very obvious. And there is no 8, so therefore our mind loves to play. Bunches of notes between 3 and 7. And when you hear 2, and it sounds like this, that is the all-time favorite. That's why all the older guys and anybody who owns a guitar for a long time, the only thing he's going to happily do for you is this one.
I love playing like that, though.
You hear that?
Oh yeah! All right,
That's
Alex.
all
Hey,
the old people
Alex,
do.
we gotta go. We gotta go to a commercial break, and we will be right back right after this. So you stick around, and we'll talk more about ecometry and music theory.
Get ready, get set, get Slope Cycle. The most innovative way to hit the hill this season is the exciting new Slope Cycle. The Slope Cycle is the most advanced way to conquer the slopes with no restraints, no straps, no restrictions. The Slope Cycle allows you to ride the mountain, and it's perfect to rock some tricks. It's as easy as snowboarding. Visit slopecycle.com for complete information and where to ride the next progression in winter sports. Slope Cycle! 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 Cycle!
Norman's Rare Guitars, your source for new, used, and vintage equipment. Carrying acoustic, electric, guitars, bass, amps, banjos, mandolins, accessories, apparel, books, and memorabilia. With popular brands from Dan Electro, Dean, Delta, Epiphone, Fender, Gibson, Gretsch, Hill, Hofner, Martin, Biernick, Olympia, Rickenbacker, Roland, Steel, Taylor, and Trujo. Visit normansrareguitars.com or stop by our Tarzana location at 18969 Ventura Boulevard. The pro shop here, you should too. Norman's Rare Guitars.
Ever wanted to know how music really works? Revolutionary musical scientist and mathematician Alex Sioris is breaking new ground with his incredible new insights into music and the way the brain thinks. With colors, shapes, and numbers, Alex has been able to unlock the secrets of music that traditional music theory is shrouded in mystery for hundreds of years. Learn the secrets of chord theory, scales, and so much more in a simple musical circle. Now you can get a glimpse of ecometry in the form of an easy-to-use musical cookbook on your iPhone. Visit iTunes App Store now and do a search for ecometry or visit ecometry.com. ECHOMETRY.com. Ecometry, because music theory is a convoluted bitch. And we're back. Hey, Alex.
Yes.
All right. So you were just showing some examples of the way we view music.
Yes.
Go ahead with where you wanted to go there.
We're taking advantage of that short intermission we had. I found another little note that says, music is an unsuccessful term for describing the process of the interaction between the human intellect and the sounds of nature, especially the ones called melodic instrument sounds. You see, music is not a word that defines what happens in our brain. Okay. There's another thing I want to tell you. Music is, when you write a song, I think we talked about it once together. When you write a song, it's like, when the kids are very, very young, when they find something sweet in the garden, they run to their mama and they say, "Mama, look what I found." That's how people are when they write a song. They find something sweet within the musical spectrum, and they run to their studio and they say, "Here, I'm going to make a song." But in reality, you have to know how big and beautiful music is before you can start writing songs, because most likely your songs will sound just like the other guy's songs. Because what you find usually outside your house, anybody can find in their home too.
Yeah, anything. Yeah, I think we've got generation after generation rediscovering what the generation before them did, and we can redefine the tone all we want, but eventually we're gonna have to step up to the bat and actually write some music. I think that people are getting bored. I think that a lot of people are getting well informed enough about music that they realize that there is something seriously wrong with how repetitive everything is.
Of course.
We want more. We desire more.
One of the things I kind of pride myself about, ecometry has realized 264 different scales from the same key. Not only I mentioned the scales, but I described their harmonic structure. Of course, their melodic structure is there too. So anybody who wishes to, let's say, compose new songs, I have about 260 more scales for you guys. So you can thrive on them and write new songs. And you will find out that this is absolutely true and reasonably feasible, but you do have to learn echometry.
I've been this whole week I've spent messing around with circles that I've never messed around with, and just having fun, because I was trying to really solidify my ability to play a diminished and an augmented chord, and from the root being both on the E string and on the A string. So I was trying to get those two chords down, and so I needed those two, and I had to go away from our standard Hilas circle and find ones with lots of augmented and diminished chords in them. There are so many fun combinations, and I'm always kind of surprised at how well they fit together.
Yes, it is. Just so that you understand, mathematically speaking, when your mind deals with number 7, the seventh power brings about 1,030,000 different possibilities. That is what I'm trying to tell you. That's how great music is, and how easy it is to get lost thinking that you have something important. Everybody can do songs.
Yeah.
My question is, where did he get it from?
Right.
And why do they all sound the same? That's the sad part. I'd like to go back to the original thought. I was about to read you some new thoughts that might make a difference to the people who might be listening. Listening to any musical piece is a challenge to our brain that almost always we avoid to take due to the lack of understanding of the simple but devious rules of the musical sound. Did you understand what I just said?
Yeah.
Every time we hear a song, the mind gives it an effort to understand it. We don't. Therefore, what are we left with? With nothing. Music has no end result.
Right.
When you listen to music, the mind gets occupied, gets involved, but concludes zero.
It's almost as if the mind is chasing butterflies.
Yes,
something it can never quite catch. But we have no net, right? And so we can't quite catch it, and we can't quite. But or is our mind really doing the math, and we're getting that, but it likes a more complicated math equation? I don't know. I mean,
I think they try to catch the butterflies with a spoon.
I think that's a good explanation. That's the way I think I've always felt.
So I would rather describe you how we get the butterflies to come and sit on our lap and be our friends.
Yeah.
Instead of running after them, because running after them, you might sprain an ankle, you might fall down. A lot of things can happen. Okay. So remember, music being number 12 and 12 being too large for our intellect to comprehend and understand, our mind breaks down the 12 in pieces. Our favorite breakdown of the 12 is called a chord, and a chord is 3 out of 12. The chord can be 4 different kinds of feelings. I'm trying to tell you guys that when you do that, your mind doesn't only understand 3 out of 12, but also feels for them. So 4 different feelings are being created in the human soul, in the human psyche, in the human brain when we hear those 3. So the 3 that we love, and we call it a major, and sounds like this. And the 3 that we don't like, and they sound like this. Or these ones. Or these that are melancholic. They are all specifically made, and as an echometrist, as a musician, as a simple human being, you should know what they're made of. And they're not made out of alphabetical characters. Alphabet is unable to translate the number 12 with 7 letters, and you have to give that up. Not today, yesterday. 7 out of 26 does not belong into your musical experience. It is put there by someone who did not want the humanity to play and understand music. Am I being clear, Mr. Jason?
Yes, I think that's very clear.
Somebody did not want the people to learn music.
Yeah.
And they established the ABCDFG and the Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti.
And I think that's the thing that I think a lot of people kind of get like, anyway, but no, if you understand the times when music theory was really created, I mean, I don't know if you have actual proof.
Let me tell you a small game that has happened, has taken place for the last few thousand years. The good old days, there was a man called Pythagoras, and he suggested that music was mathematics. Now, a lot of old folks have suggested a lot of things that we still do today. You know, there's a lot of people from those days that said important things, and we actually still read about them today.
Right.
But Pythagoras in the schools is never mentioned. Instead, Pythagoras' scale, that is the Ionian scale, has been molested, has been abused. They changed the name, and they give it to you with the word major. And
right.
Major is an epithet, it's an adjective. The word scale means a ladder. So these two words produce no knowledge into the human brain. Now, let me tell you what you should know. You should know that go anywhere in your guitar, pick any note you like and hit on it. Call it number one. Now, when you play 5-8 after the one, you're going to get happy. When you play 4-8 after the one, you're going to get melancholic.
Right.
If you play 4-7, it's kind of discouraging. And if you play 5-9, you will not like it. And that's how simple the feelings are being created when we try to understand the 12 via the number 3. 3 12s is the beginning of building feelings.
And you know, that's one of the things that really helped me when you made me back up and go back to 3.
Yes.
That helped so much improve 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Because all of you try to play your pentatonics first, and then you miss how the feelings are being done.
Yeah.
Pentatonic is too complicated. The brain has already lost its mind there.
Right.
Says, are you kidding? I'm going to give you another example. Think of 5 kids who are playing with a ball, and they're kicking the ball around. 5 kids. Do you think that you're going to last understanding what they're doing, who's got the ball? You get lost.
Right.
You see, we are smart, but not that smart. So what happens when you're playing 5 notes out of the 12? The mind is already getting tired. When you go to 7, the mind collapses. That's why all of our friends who are listening today will never improvise with 7 notes under their fingers for too long. They do a couple of little, very, very little small leaks, and then they leave it and go back to 5. And then they start strumming on their chords. Yeah. And they will jump around and they play those chord melodies. What is a chord melody? It's either 3 or 4.
Right.
Moving around. Because the 5 burns your fingers. And the 7, forget it. Have you ever seen anybody playing a chord with 7 notes? Well, they do in classical music, and that's why nobody listens to them. You see, that's the thing. Sometimes, not always, so don't count me for things I have never said. But all I'm trying to tell you, between 3 and 7. Now, 3 is the beginning of creating a sense in the musical form. Now, remember we talked about that in the language field, the 3 letters is where dad comes in, mom, God, eat, see. You see, we do use 3s in all forms of communication, including music. So at 3, the mind sparks and starts creating knowledge. So the same knowledge we create when we use the 26 letters of the alphabet, the same knowledge we get when we use 3 out of 12. What a coincidence.
You know, I think it's interesting because I've been studying Romanian, and I've studied several languages in my life, Italian, Russian, yes. Spanish, and it is always the smaller words that I have a hard time remembering what they are. You know, and it's the 1-letter and 2-letter words. When you get into 3 letters, 4 letters, those things sit in your head because they have more meat to them. They're more interesting words. So I think that's interesting that you should say that, because I think you're right. It does spark that.
Listen, the word sun as the sun of the light, and my son, which is S-O-N, is 3 letters. See how important they are in our life?
Yeah.
Like the word mom, dad, God. You see how important those words are.
Right.
Again, the word eat, the word see. All the important meanings in our life are based on threesomes. And look what a coincidence that it is not. When we play a chord, it has 3 notes.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence. Guys, wake up. I'm screaming. It is not a coincidence how our mind works. So echometry will explain to you how the echometrist's mind works, which is all of our mind works the same. So 3 out of 12 creates feelings.
3 out of 12, and we're gonna have to break. Let's do our real quick commercial break, and we'll be right back to finish this up. Ladies and gentlemen, stick around. There is much more to come.
The MTM Group is a full-service marketing and media agency that specializes in fostering emotional connections between client offerings and consumer passions. We produce memorable campaigns and experiences that meet client objectives through the thoughtful use of new technologies and core strengths we've evolved over the past 15 years. We lead with a proactive approach. Listen and deliver. For more information, visit themtmgroup.com or call 310-291-8066. Motion graphics, visual effects, 3D animation, DVD and Blu-ray menu design, web development, your full production powerhouse. Go to thezoofx.com or call 818-535-4025 to schedule a consultation for your next project. Welcome to the Zoo. The Zoo FX. A respected powerhouse in unscripted reality television, Original Productions, a Fremantle media company, has 14 series currently in production on 7 U.S. television networks, delivering audience and critic favorites alike. Programming ranges from rating sensation Storage Wars on A&E, Ice Road Truckers, and Axemen, the 2 highest-rated shows to ever air on history, to the show the New York Times has no peer, Discovery's Deadliest Catch. There is no equal. We are original. Original Productions. For more information, visit originalproduction.com.
It's original.
And we are back on the Sonic Deep, talking with Alex Sioris about ecometry, one of my favorite subjects. So we've got the 3s are so important, and obviously we see that in a lot of groupings and a lot of number coincidences, shall we call them?
The choice of our brain, our favorite choice is to get 3 and 8 beautiful feelings, meanings. We transform our thoughts into energy into somebody else's head with 3 letters or 3 notes. So when I do this, you got it. It's 3. When I do this, and when you do things like this, it's only 3 that's bugging you.
Right.
You see how happy it is? And you get happy. That's the whole idea. And that's what I want to get people to learn. That's what I'm trying to teach the world, that unless you know what makes music in your brain, forget it. It's not the Stratocaster, guys. It's not the Les Paul. It's not the,
It is what those things are doing. I think the best way you put it to me, it might as well be a telephone and you're dialing numbers.
Yes.
That's all it is.
Exactly what it is. It has nothing to do with the printer. All of our instruments are nothing but printers. They print mathematical information. Our ear picks up those information, brings them down to the brain, and the brain instantly gets accordingly excited. So there is 4 kinds of excitements that are based on threesomes. Now that is the building brick of the musical energy within our head, the 3. When you add one more note, listen to this. This is the 3 that we just did, the major 3, 1, 5, 8. Listen now, I'm going to add one more parameter. sounds like this. See how more impressive this is compared to this?
Right. It's got more, it's like got more energy to it.
Yes, because now you're calculating the number 4.
Right.
Now, look what happens. I'm going to give you the number 5 now. It sounds like this. See, this is even more exciting. So that's why all of you go like this. And then you go crazy with those 5 notes because the mind loves the 5.
Well, B.B. King has made his whole living on 5
He
notes.
made a living on a few houses, beach houses, and all the kind of things.
You know, I saw him in a thing with U2 and Rattle and Hum. B.B. King plays a song with, U2, and he tells The Edge, you do the chords because I don't do chords. And I know these 5 notes. That's it. That's all he knows is just those 5 notes. But he knows how to treat them.
The thing is, then let's use B.B. King's support on this, that the 5 is the average between 3 and 7. Did you notice that?
Right, yeah.
At the 5 gives you the feelings that the 3 establishes first. So unless you understand 3, you cannot go to 4 and 5.
Right.
So most of you have made that mistake. You got a guitar, you got your Stratocaster, and you went straight to this one. You see, when you do 5, forget it. You've already missed the boat.
Yeah.
You're going to sink on the way. You're not on the boat yet.
Yeah, you haven't figured out where 3 is.
Swimming behind your own understanding. Anyway, to make a long story short, 3 is the chord. 4 is 3 plus 1. 5 is 4 plus 1. It gets harder. 6 is difficult, and 7 is very hard. And it's almost impossible for people who haven't spent a whole life understanding commentary or music, whatever you want to call it. So I'm asking the people to concentrate on number 3. Remember, 3, when you play a major chord, as you call it, is 3 12s. The same with a minor, or a diminished or augmented. You have to know all 4 feelings before you can dare to ask yourselves to start, as you call it, composing. Composing is enforcing the simple rules of a commentary, but you have to know the elements.
Yeah.
The building bricks are 4. The red in my system is happy. The green is melancholic. The blue is blue, like in the blues, sad. And the black is worse than blue. It's almost indifferent for the brain. And for example, the black will sound like this. As you notice, this is a scale that the mind does not get engaged.
Right,
Listen to the blue scale.
Well, it's almost like the mind can't decide where it starts and stops.
It has no point of reference. It's too symmetric.
Right.
It's like if you're standing on a floor that has square tiles on the floor, and how are you going to calculate them? It's impossible. But if on the floor it has a nice flower in the middle, you're next to the flower, to the left of the flower, to the right of the flower. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
It's called point of reference.
Point of reference.
Okay. So you have to know your chords first. After you know your chords, you find out that a scale is not just 5 or 7 out of 12, but also has specific feelings that are living on each note of what you call a scale. So when you play the 7 notes of what you call a major scale, they sound like this. I played you the chords right away because I didn't want to miss your attention. There is 1, happy. The second, which is number 3, is melancholic. Number 5, number 6, number 8, number 10, number 12. So now that I know where they are and what kind of feeling they represent, if I write a song, and the song, let's say, is talking about a sad thing, and I want that sadness to come strong, I put it on a sad. If I wanted to become worse, I put it on the blue. If I wanted to be a little bit happier, I put it on the red. That's how you write your songs. You don't just by accident try to create a song, because that will never go anywhere.
Right. And if you understand how this works, this system, and let's go over this really quick. You can go ahead and play what I put up. This is the major one. This is the major one. This is the one that everybody uses.
Yes.
And we'll just go over this.
That was the red on top.
And the chord progression to that is...
It's the next one is the Dorian. Sounds like
no. Let's stay with the major scale. The chord progression is a major, a minor on the 3,
and minor on the 5.
Minor on the 5, major on the 6, major on the 8, a minor on the 10, and on the 12 is a diminished chord. So this is just rotating. Now, I want to skip something, and I want to go to another major thing, another popular thing that we use, and that's the minor scale. Go ahead, the minor scale. Go ahead and play the minor scale. And that's, so what we're doing here is we're just doing, we've just rotated the circle, so it's a minor, it's green,
followed by a blue,
followed by a red. On the 3, on the 6, we have the green.
6 is green.
That's minor. The 8 is green.
8 is minor.
Major red on the 9, and then on the 11 we've got a major red. Now, I want to point out that what we call in music theory the 1-4-5, just so for those is actually 1-6-8, and here it is. It is essentially a sustained chord, right?
Don't go into those details.
No, okay. We won't get too far into that. But we're looking at this pattern here, and you can see this pattern, and then you can see the cross pattern. Also, you can see it's the same thing you have here with the major, and you can see how they fit together.
1, 6, 8 are greens. The reds are 4, 9, 11. So the combination of these two, this is the green energy within the A minor scale. Green. The red energy. And there's one thing that divides them, which is the blue, and it sounds like this. I'm sorry? This is the blue. And there it goes. 1, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 11, 1. When we have that knowledge, you can start writing songs all day, all night long without ever making a mistake.
I know. That's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And then as you get deeper into this, you learn how to actually combine different circles.
Of course, now that is green, you can actually move to any green sound, and instead of having the one on the green that says Aeolian minor, you can now put the green on the Dorian minor, in which case now we're going to have put please on top the Dorian minor.
Is that this one or the next one?
Well, it's going to be the Dorian minor, and then it's going to be followed by the Phrygian. It's going to be followed by the Lydian.
Okay, that's right.
It's going to be followed by the Mixolydian. Then it's going to be followed by the Aeolian. Then it's Locrian. Then it's Ionian. And you heard this. Red, green, blue, red, green. Now, if I was to write a song, this one will sound Dorian. If it was an Aeolian, that was before. See, the difference is unique and specific, you have to know what they are so you don't combine them by accident and you don't get lost.
Yeah, exactly. You have to know where you're at.
You see, when you play a Dorian minor, you cannot use the 9 that is major. It has a 10 that is diminished and an 8 that is minor. It has nothing on 9.
Right.
And it's going to crash your song. You see, that's the thing. You have to know what it's made of. It is mathematics of the brain, and the brain never forgives you. And that's why most of us, when we go on the stage and we make a mistake, that's what we made a mistake about. That's why the audience doesn't like what we do, is because we do not show that we know our mathematics. There is no music. It's all math within the number 12.
Yeah.
And it's represented by the different frequencies of what you call notes. Sadly.
It's so amazing to me sometimes how simplistic you've made it, and yet at times I think that so many people, when I discuss econometry, seem so lost when I start talking about it. I mean, real musicians, I mean, people that play music all the time.
Well,
look at
we don't know the reality yet. We have to. I would like to ask you one more thing. It surprises me that yet, up to this day, they have all kinds of competitions about this and that and that, and there is nowhere in the world right now a forum where they have a musical education competition, where they don't have a place where we can actually go and talk to them about econometry.
Yeah.
We can actually boldly go and say, come on, let's see who knows what. Let's
and you know, speaking of which, if you want to go to jayandlou.com, I do have a place where there's many places actually where you can comment on some of the blogs I've written. We always put up stuff there. But at any rate, feel free to engage us at jaandlu.com. That's the home of Jay and Lou Underground and many other things, including econometry. Just because that's where everything, because we're going to get more econometry stuff up on econometry.com, but pretty much that's the best place to go look for it. And if you can get econometry if you have an iPhone or an iPad, go ahead and look econometry up, echometry, econometry, and there's a great app that has not only the scale that you see here and behind me. This is the major scale. This is the Helas. This is the one we use all the time. All of these are different. This is 12 scales right here in this. You've got in the center, you've got 5 pentatonic scales. Around the outside, you have 7 diatonic scales, and these scales are set up with their color coordinated positions of where your chords are, so you know exactly where you want to go. You know exactly how to write a song. It's all there. It not only includes this scale, but it includes harmonia, which is the harmonic minor scale, and in all of its forms, which actually brings out more forms than most people study. It has what else does it have in it? The jazz 6. Right. What else does it have in that app?
Let me. I heard you saying something. I want to give a little bit of an information about econometry, about the people who understand enough music. You know, everybody thinks that when they know their harmonic minor scale, that they know all about it. They don't. It's 1/12 of something.
Right.
So everybody who plays a harmonic minor, it sounds like this. This happens to be only the tonic of a harmonic minor. There is 11 more sisters and brothers it has that you have to learn. The same thing with melodic minor.
And that's the thing. The melodic minor and harmonic minors. You really actually, all of that in music theory, when you see it written out in music theory, it's based on this circle, and then they reference this as a 7-noted, thing that they've really messed up. And that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem. You can't base all of music on one of these circles when there are, how many have you discovered now, Alex? How many do you have? You have 24.
I have 264 scales from the same key.
264 scales from the same key. That's the same starting reference point. So music theory doesn't even come close to touching that.
No, actually they learn two, the major and the minor scale, and they give up. There's 262 more that they should have at least known they exist, and they should have an access to that information.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have that when you go to school. In school, they don't teach you that after you learn your major scale, this one, there's 5 notes that are missing, and those are more important than the ones you just played.
Right.
Remember, there's 2 groups. If you play one, the other is waiting to be explained also.
Exactly.
There is never music with 8 notes. It's all with 7. When the 7 are present, 5 are missing. When the 5 are missing, the 5 are present, the 7 are missing. As you see, even talking about it, it's complicated. But anyway, remember, when you play 7, there is no 8th note. That's the most important thing to forget first. 7 are the notes.
All right, Alex, we got to wrap this up. I want to thank you for joining me via Skype. It's been another great night, and I really do appreciate you coming on. And we are going to get out of here and let Music Machete take over. You all stick around for Music Machete.
Thank you for joining us on The Sonic Deep. Until next week, stay tuned for Music Machete next on Excite Radio.